What's up, everybody? You are tuned into your second RotoGrinders Crunch Time of the day. We're here to talk about a little three-game NBA slate, which is so messy for a three-gamer. Like maybe the worst slate of the year so far, arguably. Anyway, I'm Justin Carlucci. Devin's producing, and I'm joined by Keith Eyster. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, just sweating a little football, researching a little basketball. It's another great Sunday here with all kinds of stuff going on.
Sweating football, looking at a little three-gamer here. We're going to be back for Showdown in like less than 2 real hours. We will be back. So we have some more catching up to do there. But it's always fun when Kansas City is on the Showdown slate. And yeah, this is a free crunch time. And as Devin dropped in chat, this is usually a premium product. We have a lot of good free stuff here at RotoGrinders, a lot of great podcasts, and thanks for joining me on Food for Thought earlier this week. That was fun to have some open-ended conversations, and we just talked about how the Bengals ripped our heart out. Did that affect you today at all, Keith?
Yeah, definitely. Had plenty of exposure to Burrow, had a lot of Chase, had some Higgins too, which kind of worked out, but he didn't smash or anything. But man, we called it way early on in the week that there were going to be a gajillion good running back plays, and that's exactly how it shook out. We got the Sony Michel, even though Henderson turned up active. Michelle is getting all the work, so I've got a fair amount of him going yet. Hopefully that continues to work out. The Stafford stacks are certainly not working out, so I think it's going to have to be Michelle at this point. But yeah, all kinds of running back stuff.
Yeah, is Cooper Kupp still cashless at half? Is that
he did get one?
Got one. Woo.
He got a couple actually.
All right.
He's up to 3 for 22. But yeah, he was shut out for like a quarter and a half.
You gotta love the NFL, man. That's why it's the best, right? Anyway, speaking of the best, this is not the best NBA slate of the year, but we got 3 games. One of them where most of the ownership's gonna go is this Hornets game. The Hornets are taking on Atlanta. They are on the road. Atlanta's 7-point favorites, I believe. Then you have Washington visiting Toronto. Those are the 2 6:00 games. They will lock right away, leaving you just one late swap option with New Orleans and Houston. All these games seem to be fairly competitive. Even Charlotte, despite missing LaMelo, missing Terry Rozier, missing Plumlee. Am I missing anybody? Hold on, we'll get there. Anyway, those are like the main culprits that we're missing here. Okay. And by the way, drop your questions in the YouTube chat. And if you're in Discord, check them in. Check them in. Crunch time. What's up, Don Yeezy? Thanks for joining us. One of our loyal viewers. We appreciate you for sure. Okay, this Charlotte game, right? And I was looking at the points props for this game, which were interesting. And it's kind of like, I went into our Court IQ tool, one of our great premium tools. If you're a free viewer and you're missing out on some of our great tools that we have under the premium umbrella of resources, it looks like they just kind of almost like made their point lines based on the Hornets per 36 numbers. If you look at Gordon Hayward's, just for conversation's sake, you look at Hayward, Oubre, and even Ish Smith, their lines, at least on FanDuel's book, are pretty close to just what their per 36 scoring averages would be in general, which I couldn't decide if it was lazy or if it was just kind of misprojected, because like some of these guys, if the game is competitive, will be in massive roles. We don't have data for some of this, so it's kind of difficult to project. And you have guys coming up from the G League, Keith. So of course, without LaMelo, without Rozier, you think like, who are the borderline high usage guys anyway? I'm assuming Hayward and Bridges come to mind for you in this Charlotte game.
Yeah, most definitely. And this game is really interesting. Charlotte particularly profiles as a great team to attack in DFS typically. They play really fast. They're ranked second to last in defensive rating. So this is definitely a game we want some exposure to. Obviously, with only 3 games, you're probably going to have exposure to all of them, but I'm definitely leaning heavy towards this game. Oubre is another one I want to throw out there. Like, the guy's been just performing here recently. Price is coming up, but the role he's going to have today, I think Oubre is going to be every bit as involved. Ownership on him is climbing up there. It's right there with Bridges and Hayward. PJ Washington is way underpriced. Looks like he's going to be the highest owned. So this Charlotte side is looking to be the chalk. I have a ton of interest in the other side of this game. I'll still play a couple of Charlotte pieces on the other side of it, but I think it's Atlanta that I have a ton of interest in here.
Yeah, you have to eat some of this chalk in Charlotte on this slate particularly. Now, if we had 12 games, I could say maybe you need one piece, or if you want to fade it and hope it's a blowout, like sure. Totally get where you're coming from too. I think the Atlanta side is interesting for a reason. Well, first of all, Trey Young is questionable. We don't have a lineup yet.
They did announce he was available to play. So
thank God, that would have made things even worse.
So, yes, Reddish out and Herter is in also. So Young and Herter in, Reddish out.
Okay, so we're confirming Trey Young is in. Thank you. We got a Hornets lineup 5 minutes ago to Rod Boone on Twitter, the Hornets beat writer. And if you're an avid DFSer, you always think about Rick Bonnell, the great Charlotte beat writer who passed. Me and Chief always talk about him. He was great too. Rod Boone's pretty good too. Has some big shoes to fill. But he did announce Ish Smith, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges, and Nick Richards are going to be the starting 5 for Charlotte. Now, I think Nick Richards, he did start previously as just a formality once or twice, I think. I can't remember what game it was, but he played like 6 or 7 minutes. And then it was PJ Washington. And it could be where Washington might just be like, there's no content out on this. There's nobody's making a case for it. Like, it's not confirmed, but maybe he just likes coming off the bench. Almost how like Lou Williams always comes off the bench no matter what. Jamal Crawford always came off. They start somebody for the hell of it and just as a placeholder to bring the real starter in. And I think that's what you're going to get. Like, I'm not going Nick Richards. He might not play more than 10, 12, 15 minutes. PJ Washington is going to be the small ball 5 guy. And we've seen that recently. Here's the, like, we could talk about Charlotte, as much as we want. Hopefully we get some questions, but just for time purposes here, you said you want to talk about the Atlanta side. Here's what I'm worried about. This is like, you would think a mega smash spot for Clint Capella, but without Plumlee, we've seen Atlanta, at least I've noticed more than most teams, matching up small with the opponent. They've been yanking Capella early and not seeing that full allotment of minutes. I think we could see some John Collins at the 5 because he's the exact size as PJ Washington. And now with Herter active, you can throw one more of these wings in. I think you might see 2 small teams tonight. Sure. Could Capella play 25 minutes and absolutely smash against the Charlotte team? Yeah, he could. But at 8,200 on DK, I think you want like 30 minutes out of him. That's where I'm concerned, because my original thoughts were, okay, Capella's going to feast inside Charlotte. And then I'm like, well, you know what? If Washington's going to play 30, 35 minutes, they might roll John Collins at the 5, which I think I'm most interested in John Collins for tournaments on this Atlanta side. I want to hear your take on the Hawks now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on the Capella side, exactly the reasons that you stated. I like you. I think that he could smash it, even if he only gets 25 minutes. Just look at who Charlotte's going to have active. Who is going to stop him inside? If that is working and he can just do anything he wants in there, why would they go away from that? Is kind of my stance on it. Collins is fine. I certainly don't mind him. I think he could definitely smash in this spot too. I'm going to pay up for Trey Young also. So like I mentioned, I'm going to have the most exposure to Atlanta of any team, any of the 6 teams on this thing. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, I just think that there's no one to stop Capella. So that's my lean is Capella first.
Okay, makes sense. And just to backtrack here, like Ish Smith, like they priced him accordingly on DK. I got to see what he is on FanDuel. He's not 4K flat. He's not a free square anymore. But it's hard to not like Ish. He usually pops off when he has usage opportunities. Oubre still extremely fairly priced, probably underpriced for his role, 6,100 on DK. Hayward's been pretty good. I'm just kind of doing like a quick synopsis here in my take. Like Hayward's been hitting 5X with everybody healthy, taking shots in the teens. His usage has been, about what we're accustomed to seeing out of him. If he gets 5-6 more shots, Bridges has been phenomenal, but for salary purposes, Bridges might be my odd man out. Like, despite the highest ceiling, maybe in general, he just hasn't had it lately. So I'm I don't know. I'm kind of favoring these like mid-price forwards on Hornets opposed to Bridges. That's a tough decision, but do you have a lean on that either way in your eyes?
I agree with your take there. Bridges is a guy that's been getting in the mid 30s in minutes, so it's not like he's going to see a massive expansion on his role. Now, you could argue maybe there's a little bit more usage for him without LaMelo or Rozier. But yeah, I think it's guys like PJ Washington, Kelly Oubre even, who are going to just step into a massive, larger role in the offense. So yeah, I like the value pieces too.
Okay. We got 2 more games and then we'll take questions and we can kind of talk our way through our feelings on this slop fest of a 3-gamer we have here. So the Wizards in Toronto, and it was funny because Devin's like, I don't even know who to put on the poster of our show, and it was Fred VanVleet. So we have no OG Uniube, and let's see, Birch is out as well. So, Washington is just a better defensive team than they were last year. They don't play as fast without Westbrook. I have some interest, but like Siakam's priced fair. Scotty Barnes is too much for my blood. 8K on DK, too rich for me. Gary Trent's been bad lately, but I don't mind that at 59. You get down to Precious, whose last name I can never pronounce, so I don't even try. And he is going to play a ton of minutes. Look at his log. He doesn't have a extremely high ceiling, but at 4,500 on the slate, the center only kind of stinks eligibility. But if I'm looking somewhere, it's a Chuiwa as my favorite Raptor tonight. What's your take on Toronto, Keith?
This game is going to be the lowest owned of the 3 for sure. So if you're looking for a deep tournament like a low owned pivot, that's about the only interest I have here. If I'm running 1 to 3 lineups, I probably don't get anybody from Toronto. Just since they've added Scotty Barnes, they're all priced up. They all eat into each other a little bit. I don't like the upside on Toronto here. I think the Toronto piece I would look to first would be Gary Trent. Coming back from an injury. Is this his first game back or did he play the other day? It looks like he did play the other day. He has the lowest price tag outside of Achua. Achua hasn't had the same rates as he did when he was coming off the bench. I mentioned just their big 3 that they have there with VanVleet, Siakam, and Barnes. It's hard for him to get usage when he's in the starting lineup. It's a fair price tag, but the center only eligibility, I mentioned liking Capella. So I don't know. I'm just having a hard time working him in. I think the price is totally fair, but I do worry about the usage a little bit in the starting lineup, and he's known to get into some foul trouble as well. So I don't have a ton of Achua.
That's fair. He's kind of like a last guy in looking for someone in that range for me. And I'm only throwing a single bullet in tonight with our NFL Showdown show coming up, which is premium, by the way. So another premium show we love to have for you guys here. But yeah, you're right. That game will be the lowest owned, and probably rightfully so, because you have two teams in this late game here who play fast. I mean, Houston plays at the fastest pace in the league. So that is obviously a pace up spot for anybody. And New Orleans plays relatively fast in their own right. They're top third of the league in pace. Both teams are bad in terms of defensive efficiency. Houston ranks 19th and New Orleans is dead last in the league. So there's going to be points there. That is why this Toronto game is not gaining a lot of steam. So this Houston New Orleans game, a lot of guys are banged up on both sides. I was a Kevin Porter Jr. casualty the other night. He had a great first quarter, and then Silas decided to roll out like 11 rockets anyway. The game after Christian Wood was in a walking boot, he was the one I was worried about. He's been phenomenal lately. He's been great. So you don't have Jalen Green and you don't have Kevin Porter. Like I'm inclined to find a way to get Christian Wood tonight. Obviously, Armani Brooks is a popular value piece here. So do you want to start on the Rocket side of things and give me a quick rundown?
Yeah. Brooks is obviously a great value. Should run out there for 30 minutes. He's priced at 3.7 on DraftKings. I'm top value play on the slate for me. Jayshawn Tate is, 2 games ago, he absolutely smashed and then got a massive price increase. So I think he's priced appropriately for his role without Porter. Don't mind taking shots on him. Don't mind the ownership there. So I think he's definitely in play. Garrison Matthews is a guy that could see a little more usage with Porter out, and I think he has a fair price. A guy that's been known to chuck it up there quite a few times in the past. So definitely think you could get some volume out of Matthews here. Wood is the one that I'm struggling with, and I think it's just that I prefer Capella is why I'm not getting to him. But man, you look at the game logs and he's put up 60 twice in the last 3, 50 in his last one. Like, there's definitely a ceiling here. New Orleans doesn't like to run Adams out there for much more than like mid 20s minutes. And they get pretty thin in the front court after Adams. So you might be onto something there with Wood at really low ownership that we're projecting right now.
Yeah. I like usage is kind of trumping matchup for me, I think, in this situation. Without Kevin Porter, in addition to Green, I think that's where my lean is. Not having Porter in, frees up a good amount of usage. Both teams are so bad, which makes the game environment even more volatile. It could be a blowout one way or the other. When two bad teams play, we just see some weird stuff happen. But I'm hoping it's just like a competitively bad game and not like the Memphis OKC game we saw earlier this week. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And the thing with Wood and Valanciunas is just like Valanciunas is a good anchored defender, but Wood's pretty quick. Like I don't know if that's the type of, what do you want to call it? Defensive archetype. Like if that works in Valanciunas' favor or not. Like he can defend he can defend a Capella type player pretty well. Someone with nothing in their bag, as they say, I guess, right? But I don't mind Wood and Valanciunas here. Like you'll look at the DVA and you'll see, well, New Orleans is pretty good against centers typically, but Christian Wood's really good. Another guy the Sixers let go way too early, but that's a discussion for another day. Great point on Jayshawn Tate. I think on this slate, 66 on DK, without Porter in this game, I think you could play a couple of these Rockets together if the game, fits the right bill here and stays close. For time's sake here, do you want to go over to the New Orleans side of things?
Yeah, let's do that. My bad. I mentioned Adams. He's obviously in Memphis now. Valanciunas is the guy. So you analyzed that matchup much better than I did. So sorry about the confusion there.
Long day, dude. Long day.
Yeah, no doubt. Still get mixed up about that. On New Orleans, I think Ingram is going to be a great spend here. You mentioned Houston's pace. Nice pace up spot for Ingram. I think that it plays more to an Ingram style of game than it does to a Valanciunas game. Jovel was crushing earlier in the season, but he has fallen off a little bit here recently. He did have one monster game a couple of games ago against the Clippers, I believe it was. But I prefer Ingram in the spot just for the pace. The Houston doesn't have a lot of size. So he'd be my first lean. I think then I'm looking for value. Alexander Walker has struggled. Devontae Graham has struggled as well. He was another guy that was playing really well early in the season. Missed some time with an injury, and since he's come back, just hasn't looked quite right. But the price tag is very good on him still. Theoretically, there's quite a bit of upside there. He's going to be out there mid-30s minutes, so Graham should make for a nice value play.
Yeah, I was torn on the Pelicans, more so on Graham and Alexander Walker too. And I just look at the game log. It's been a while since they had a seriously favorable game environment. First of all, pretty much any team that either of these two teams in New Orleans or Houston play are better than them typically. But second of all, just I'm looking at Devontae Graham's game log right now. Seeing a ton of minutes, not taking as many shots as we'd like, but Josh Hart is out again, which helps. Of Dallas twice, plays slow. The Clippers are generally pretty good defensively. Utah, slow and good defensively. Washington, better defensively and a lot slower. Miami, historically good defensively when they're healthy, slow. So I'm looking at this game log, and it's just been a while since the Pelicans had any kind of pace up and bad defense spot together, and they're getting that tonight with Houston. So Devontae Graham's log isn't showing a ton of upside, but I'm more prone to play some of these Pelicans in this Houston game. So I think some of these Pelicans looking here is probably my second favorite spot for to build some construction around outside of the Charlotte Atlanta game here.
Yeah, Josh Hart officially out too. So theoretically there's some usage to go around here. I think you can play two of them for sure.
Brandon Ingram, if this was a full slate, would we want to pay 88 for him on DK? I don't know. Huge game. 12 dimes against Dallas is an anomaly for him, though. That's almost 3 times his average. So we really can't expect that. But we know he's going to score, and you're getting a fast pace here. So I guess my question to you is, what's your take on Ingram today on this slate?
Yeah, there's not a lot of options. I mentioned not liking the Toronto guys. I do like Trey Young as a spend up, but outside of that, it's Ingram. So squarely in play. Don't love the price tag, but it's a 3-game slate. I think for raw points, he's absolutely in play.
Okay, sounds good. And it'll be not funny. It'll be fascinating to see if people go Ish Smith or Devontae Graham, or do they try to jam both in, because on DK they are the same price. So we'll see how that plays out. Let me see if I can get some ownership here on DK. Yeah, Graham, obviously, no surprise, is our second projected highest owned player on DraftKings right now, only behind Armani Brooks. And now that Trey Young is going to be active, he is carrying 40+% ownership here. So man, these small slates are fun because all it takes is 1 or 2 duds, and you're probably toast. Or if you make the right fades, then you're in pretty good shape there too. Capella and Collins, you can see on Lineup HQ projected similarly, fairly similarly per dollar, and ownership is within 5 to 6 points too. So the Collins Capella thing will also be interesting to see where people land. About 5:53 p.m., about 7 minutes before roster lock here tonight. And I was noting Alvin's question in the chat he had earlier. He said, can we play 6 Hornets on DK and 4 on FanDuel? So I was going to ask you this regardless, is how many Hornets is too many Hornets tonight? Do you have a threshold, or how many what caps your upside here, Keith?
Yeah, 3 is certainly fine. I wouldn't think twice about that. 6, I definitely would not do. I think because it's a 3-game slate, usually even in tournaments, I like to cap it at 2. Usually I will have some slates where I play 3 guys from the same team, especially when there's value like we have on Charlotte. On a 3-game slate, 3 is absolutely fine. And I think you could push it to 4 before you have to worry about, I'm really limiting my upside. Just because it's 3 games, you can be looser with it, but I would still contain it in tournaments. So I think 4 would be my max Hornets that I would go.
Okay. I like that. That's fair. Can't argue with that. Let's see here. Gafford or Devontae Graham? And we didn't mention Gafford, who typically always has upside because, he's a blocks guy, right? So he's pretty cheap too, as well. Obviously, he's forever battling Montrezl Harrell for minutes. He's been playing well. Just, you're not going to get 30 minutes out of him unless Harrell gets hurt or gets in foul trouble, most likely. On this slate, though, does he have 7 times upside? Absolutely. And he's hit that within the last week a couple of times. What do you think about Gafford for tournaments?
Yeah, I think that's a sharp pivot. I mean, certainly don't mind the price tag. You mentioned it. He's hit tournament value on that price several times already this year. So I like it.
I think I actually agree with lineup HQ. Not that I don't disagree frequently, but Gafford's ceiling is slightly higher, but I think Graham's floor is a little bit higher because you're getting the minutes in a nice matchup.
Yep, agree with that. I would play Graham and cash and Gafford for tournaments. That makes perfect sense.
I get it. There's not a ton of options at center, though. I mean, depending on what you're doing with PJ Washington for optimal type builds. You mentioned Capella. I like John Collins as well. And of course, Christian Wood. So I don't mind Gafford at all for tournaments. I'd probably save him for large field stuff, opposed to Devontae Graham. Let's see. Scotty Barnes and Gallinari. What are your thoughts on both of those players? And we briefly touched on Barnes. I just think he's a little too expensive at 8K flat, despite no Birch and no OG. I don't know what his ceiling is tonight. And, I could be wrong, but that's just my take. I'm not paying 8K for Scotty Barnes. Great player, though. Good, great rookie, a lot of minutes. I just prefer more like 7K-ish for Barnes if I had to.
Yep, completely agree with your take there on Barnes. I don't see much of a ceiling at that price tag. Gallinari is a very interesting value play for me. With Reddish out, he's been getting quite a bit of run here. Saw him put up a great game in 28 minutes in his last outing. I absolutely love the Charlotte matchup, so I want to be as heavy on these Atlanta guys as I can. Gallinari is a phenomenal value play for me. I love him as a pivot off of Graham.
Yeah, he's 47 on DK, so he's not free and he's not going to pop on anything. So his ownership might be in check a little bit. I mean, coming in at 20%, which is fine on a 3-gamer. And you tagged him as a conviction play. I see where you're at, Keith. Good
Sure
stuff.
did. Yeah. With Herter in there, I think that ownership stays significantly lower than some of the other value. So with Reddish out and Herter in, that was kind of exactly the situation I was looking for. I think if Herter was out too, then Gallinari would get some steam. But with Herter active, I think that Gallinari stays pretty low owned, and I do like it.
Yeah, Trey Young, how hurt is he? Man, is Trey Young your favorite tournament? I know you're talking about Trey Young, like without giving away the farm here, like where are you at on Trey Young? 10-3 on DK. Obviously, probably arguably the best matchup in the league, though, without LaMelo, too. You get Ish Smith defense, and then he can get screened off to get, PJ Washington or Nick Richards for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, Trey Young is the top play on the slate for me. You mentioned the matchup there, and there's just not a lot of ceiling on this slate. Trey Young is certainly somebody that has the ceiling. If he's shooting the lights out, we've seen him hit that 60-point ceiling before. I think there's only about 2, maybe 3 guys. You throw Christian Wood in there, probably 3 guys that can hit 60 points on this slate. So yeah, Trey Young's the top play for me.
558 guys, make sure you are submitting those teams, submitting that lock button on both sites for the 6 p.m. tip-off. You're tuned into RotoGrinders NBA Crunch Time, a free edition here. Yeah, anything else we didn't bring up? I mean, we didn't mention like Bradley Beal, who just like, it's time to live in 2021. I think he's just not getting that usage with Dinwiddie, active, and with Kuzma on the team. Fair price, high floor, but I don't have much exposure out in that game outside of Achua.
Yeah, I'm the same, and it's just not the same Bradley Beal. It's not like we're talking about a couple of rough games here. It's like the whole season we haven't seen a ceiling game from him. So yeah, can't do it.
Okay, gun to head, raw points. All right, Devontae Graham or Ish Smith, they're the same price.
Oh man, I've got to go Devontae Graham there.
Okay, tough one, but I like it. But he could correlate with some of these Houston pieces we talked about. So All right, 5:59, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Ingram gonna kill it. Any thoughts? I mean, he gets the pace. Houston doesn't play defense. He gets a great pace. I think you can expect a really high floor out of Brandon Ingram. What's his ceiling tonight, Keith? Brandon Ingram.
I don't know if he's got 60 in him. That's the thing. Like, that's why I want to play Trey Young over him. I think I guess Ingram did just put up 57, so maybe there's another 57 in there. But I think he's more like a 50-point ceiling guy. Yeah, he's fine. I think the way Ingram works out is that Trey Young fails in this spot, and then Ingram is just the raw points leader.
Could happen. Trey Young does have a tasty matchup though, so we will see what happens. And we did hit lineup lock here. And we're still sweating out some Sunday main slate football. Always a lot of stuff here going on at RotoGrinders. So thank you for coming out for this free edition. And if you do subscribe for premium, you get a ton of great stuff. Not only the articles, and premium videos and strategy videos too. Not only slate breakdowns, but you get, lineup construction strategy, game selection. We have Discords for those things now. We have Chief Prop Shop giving out some props. We're out here putting out some betting picks, whether it's game size, over unders, or props on Scores and Odds, who we are proudly affiliated with as well. So there's content for literally everything. So if you like what you heard a little bit from us here, and you'll have to excuse us, I didn't have a ton of caffeine today and we are running on fumes, but we do have a Sunday showdown coming up. So I don't know. What's your hottest take on this slate, Keith? Or you got any Clint Capella takes for me?
I'm going to stick on the same team, but give me Gallinari is in the winning lineup. Give me a 7x for Gallinari.
I like it. Let's come out swinging, baby. But we'll be back here for the Sunday Night Showdown show. Kansas City and Denver. Always a treat when we're breaking down the Chiefs primetime showdown. We'll let Devin get out of here and get some dinner before we're back. So for Devin and of course Keith, I'm Justin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you for the Showdown show.